All right, welcome to a Faster Me. We're out here in Ontario, Dare to Race Crit, Cat 5. This is going to be our first race, so it'll be our first time putting our fitness on the line. So let's see how we do. All right, so here we go with some race commentary. First goal already checked. I can check the first box because my first goal was very, very simple. Just take the starting line. You know, I've been trying to, or thinking about racing for over a year now, and I was afraid to race. So, yeah, the goals for this race was number one, just take the starting line. Number two, get off the line well and, you know, stay somewhere about the top 15. And then sit in and try not to do any hard efforts. Basically, I was going to try to stick to my guns. I am not a big sustained power guy. I'm more of a sprinter type at this point. And yeah, I need a ride. So I was trying to sit in, and I was just trying to make it a point not to get out in the wind and use any unnecessary effort. So yeah, we'll see how we do once we get started here. It was pretty intimidating though from the start. Kind of like my first time playing in a golf tournament. You know, just I couldn't even hardly pedal when we got off the line here. My knees were shaking like crazy, and I couldn't get my right foot clipped in. So I pedaled like one or two pedals with just my left leg until I can control my right knee to get into the pedal. So, you know, it's kind of good just to have a little adrenaline and be excited again. And yeah, so we're off. And this is where I'm struggling right here to just get clipped in. Being that this is my first race, I don't know any of the other riders really. So I don't know who's reliable, who's steady, who's a good wheel to hold on to. So I did watch some other races previously, so I know that the team, I think it's Majestic, I knew that they had some good riders, and I'm sure they entered the race with a plan. So if I had the opportunity, I would kind of follow them a little bit as well and just try to see what I can learn. So right here, just coming off of turn one, I'm just trying to make sure I can keep pace, not lose too much energy or use too much energy, and get a good draft. I was really afraid, being the first race, of getting dropped. So yeah, I had no clue what to expect, like what the power outputs were going to be, or you know, anything like that, or how significant the draft would be with this many riders. I've never, you know, been in a draft with, you know, 20, 30 riders. You know, been in some group rides and things like that, but nothing this big. So I did race motorcycles though, road racing back in Willow Springs, back in 2009, 2010. So, you know, if we were doing 100 miles per hour, I'd be more comfortable. So far though, I mean, the watts are actually not like the highest in the world, but you know, it's more than I want to do for the entire race. I don't want to be pushing 280, 300 watts the entire race. I mean, if I had it in me, I would, but yeah, I really am looking to just save as many watts as possible. So again, I'm just trying to sit in here as much as I can. I was pretty comfortable with all the movement. I know, you know, a lot of people are a little nervous. Cat 5 gets wild and people sketch, and you see the guy up there darting around right now. And yeah, I mean, that's normal. Everybody's not going to be a great rider holding their line all the time and knowing all the dynamics of racing. I have a little bit of an advantage there from the motorcycle racing. I mean, it's way more wild than this, and you're on 400-pound machines. At least we're on little, you know, 15 to 20-pound machines and going a lot slower. So far I'm happy with how the race started. I'm pretty passive with my riding.
finding wheels pretty good. I'm up in the top 10 or so, and it's about what I wanted to do. I was a little surprised when I saw that rider in the blue take off there. You know, good on him, but I was just like, yeah, go ahead, because there's no way that's going to get me excited on lap 2. I did not have the fitness to go with that or even attempt to. So, yeah, I mean, just sit in, be patient. I think these are some of the Majestic guys in front of me now. I believe that's Fernando. And Fernando, I got to talk to him a little bit after the race. Nice guy. Definitely, I was comfortable riding with him. He holds his lines well, and you know they have a plan. I think Matt is up front, one of their good riders. I don't know if they ride for him or if he just at the moment is getting the good finishes. I mean the good, you know, finishing positions. But I knew they had a plan, and I thought, you know, if I can hang out with them a little bit, I'd probably be all right. And honestly, just following their wheels a little later in the race was really calming. That's a little sketch right there. If you see the rider on the red bike, I think he almost touched the front wheel. And, you know, the whole key, not like I'm an experienced guy or anything, but I do learn fast. And from what everyone tells me is protect your front wheel. And, you know, that's just what you have to do at all costs, protect your front wheel. But yeah, the Majestic team, they were very calming because late in the race I saw a lot of movement, or maybe middle of the race I saw a lot of movement from different teams and different riders or whatever, and they weren't in those moves. So I was able to just relax a little bit, being that my theory was, hey, if that was a real important move, they'd probably be in it or they'd try to chase it down or something. And at the moment they were behind me, so I never moved. I just thought, yeah, I'm in a good spot and no one's concerned about that. I just, you know, being that I saw a couple of the races before, I just felt that at the end of the race, you know, they would move up to be there. So also, this is the only time I was a little bit uncomfortable. I didn't like being really in the middle position here, trying to get a solid draft with, you know, guarding my front wheel from the bike in front of me and then two riders on the side. I like a little more wiggle room, so I'd prefer to be left or right. I mean, it's not that it's like actually nerve-wracking or anything like that, but it just wasn't as comfortable to get a close draft when I'm in the middle position. Even though the draft is better there, it's just sometimes you're a little boxed in feeling, and you know, somebody moves right or left, you don't always have room to adjust to it. Definitely communication is key. I don't know if you heard, I said on my right back there, and you know, the guy to the left had moved over to me a little bit, but it was all safe and it was good. But you know, we definitely don't want to hook handlebars. I think the effort ramps up a little bit here. I don't know this rider's name in front of me. It looks like 712. You know, he put in a nice effort to bridge here, but I don't think he needed some help from me basically, but I wasn't willing to give it at this point. I was trying to stay disciplined and just say, don't do any efforts, don't get in the wind. So I just sat behind him, and if he was able to pull us up, then I would have rode with him. But you know, he ran out of steam a little bit, which is understandable, because you know, that was a pretty hard pull there. I saw these guys go by, so I jumped on the wheel. They're moving pretty good here, and it's a pretty good effort, so I didn't really want to put these watts in though. So in hindsight, I wish I wouldn't have jumped on this. I wish I would have waited a couple more riders to come through and would have jumped on and maybe been in the mid to high 200 watts instead of pushing, you know, 315 or whatever it was we were doing. All those little efforts take a toll on your legs. Especially someone like me. I'm not a high wattage guy. Now my sprint is pretty high watts if I can stay fresh, you know. But as far as FTP and sustained power, I'm not a high wattage guy, and I'm a little bit bigger at 175 pounds. You know, in the real world, I'm skinny, and you know, on the bike, often, you know, I'm one of the larger guys, especially I'm 6 foot. So, you know, sometimes it's hard to find a real good draft. I need some bigger guys sometimes for a draft. And as I say that, there's a couple bigger guys in front of me right now, so not too bad. Now, I'm very comfortable with carrying corner speed and taking the inside line from the motorcycle racing days. Every corner here, I'm trying not to touch my brake. I almost get my wheel chopped right there by the rider in the black and orange. I think he thought he was past me, but it was pretty close, but not dangerous or anything, you know, just something to stay aware of. Some people, that freaks them out, and for me, it's not really that big of a deal. It's just part of the sport. Here, I was being a little lazy. I should have got on a wheel, saved some effort, but I'm kind of doing a half effort, which taxes your legs. I'm sitting in the wind, pushing 320 watts when I could be on a wheel pushing 250 or something, you know, and all of that adds up. I'm learning the hard way right here because I don't have experience. So, and I don't know his name right here with the Neon Trek, but great job by him of conserving energy. Both of these two riders, they're a little bit larger riders. You can tell they have power in their legs, but they did a really good job of saving energy through the race. And then there's Matt, one of the Majestic guys, and then Fernando again, and that made me feel a lot more comfortable because I said, hey, if they're back here, most likely that front move up there is not going to stick. So again, that calmed me down a little bit and thought, okay, I don't need to be as desperate as I thought I did for a second, and I thought I blew it by being lazy and not getting on a wheel early. So now I'm a little gassed. As you can see, my heart rate is 184. I have a max of about 188. So yeah, I'm not feeling too great right now. I mean, I still have a lot of energy and I still have some power in the legs, but the heart is beating pretty fast. And then there's Grant in front of me here. Nice guy. I talked to him after the race as well. I just remember the color scheme right there. So he's looking good on the bike, real good pedal strokes, everything else. So yeah, I know one thing I noticed about Cat 5 is we all sit up a little higher than we think we are. You know, we think we're getting a little arrow here and there, and most of us are sitting up like we're, you know, climbing GMR or something. And that's Glendora Mountain Road for those of you guys not in the area. But yeah, it's a good learning curve and or learning situation. So here, I don't know the rider's name in the black and white. Great draft, big, strong rider, and for someone like me that's a little bit taller, I love getting his draft, and later in the race I'm going to find him and stick to him for a few laps, and that helped me recover a little, because here I'm just trying to recover right now. If another big surge happened here, I'd probably get dropped, and I was afraid of that. I was thinking, like, you know, don't get dropped, just hang on, don't get dropped, and I can't sustain this for the whole 30 minutes, and luckily it does come back and calm down a little bit. You know, we went 26, 28, 30 miles per hour for a couple laps, and then it's going to calm down to about 23 or so miles per hour. I think for the race I averaged 24.4 miles per hour. I'm not exactly sure on the change, but it was 24 and some change. Yeah, and that heart rate just still doesn't want to drop. My cadence was great, though, throughout the race. I wasn't really burning too much energy as far as wasted power. You know, I was hovering around 100 to 110 cadence most of the races. 100's about where I like it. If I'm dropping in the 90s or so, I'm either pushing a lot of watts or I'm getting tired. And pretty much for the whole race, I was in the hundreds. With coasting and everything, I averaged, I think, a cadence of 93. I can't remember what my high was, maybe 126 or so. And that's without ever sprinting. So, yeah, it was, cadence-wise, it was good. Just got to get used to all the surges. I'm in decent shape, but, you know, when someone else dictates the pace, that's what you got to get prepared for. Random surging, and of course repeated surges when you're not ready for it. It's really easy when you can dictate the pace, but when you have to match someone else's pace or someone else's attacks, that's when your fitness is really tested. As you can see by my heart rate, it's been a long time just stuck at 185. And I'm pretty sure the heart monitor was working. It's just, I could not recover back to where I need to be. And honestly, most of you guys don't know me and I haven't done my intro video yet, but I'm actually just off heart meds. A couple years ago, I changed my diet. 3 years ago, went all plant-based. Started riding the bike about two and a half years ago, and got my heart stronger and stronger. And as of about a month ago, I am completely off heart meds. Hopefully it will stay that way. But yeah, just 2 months ago, my heart rate max was about 170 or so. And now that's almost my threshold, I think my threshold heart rate now is about in the 160s, and before it was, 140 something, 150. So I'm still adjusting to even just riding with such a high heart rate. And on the flip side, my resting heart rate is sometimes in the 30s, 40s, and it's even been as low as 25, which is one of the reasons why I had to get off of the heart meds. So here at this portion of the race, I guess we're, just roughly halfway through the race. And I do sit with Fernando here for a few laps. And yeah, we have a little conversation here and there. And I like his wheel. It's a good, smart wheel. Takes good lines, anticipates the movement of the group or peloton pretty well. And yeah, I felt really safe in that position. Communication was well too. People were saying when they're on the inside or you're outside or you're right or you're left. A couple people dive bomb a little recklessly, but we're all learning, so for me it's not a big deal. I know some guys are mad. I've heard people cussing out there every once in a while, but I don't think anyone's out here intentionally trying to cut anyone off or hurt anyone. No one wants to crash their nice expensive bikes. So one of the things I do here for this race, and that was just one of my goals to conserve energy, is I tail gun a little bit. I try never to hit my brakes. I'm a little mad at myself right here for being offline and being in the wind a little. And as you can see, I was doing 300 watts, and that was just wasted energy. No need to do 300 watts there. Just get behind someone and drop those watts down to the mid 200s or so. But one thing I do is I tail gun. I like to tail gun, and basically if you don't know what tail gunning is, it's going into a turn, you want to let just a small gap open up so you do not have to brake while other riders are braking and then accelerating. They're using that power, and you can just lay off the brakes, roll through the corner, and use that momentum instead of using the hard acceleration. You can see a lot of these guys when you come out of the turn, going into the turn, they slow down a lot, and then most or half are standing up kind of sprinting out of the turn. And that's a lot of wasted effort when you can just lay off your brakes, roll through the turn, and pick your cadence back up again. And again, not like I'm an expert. It's my first race in Cat 5. I've just spent a lot of time coaching other sports, so I like to study and I like to learn about it. And I have other racers that have been a little more experienced than I am that gives me some pretty good advice. So yeah, we're just about 3/4 away or 2/3 through the race. And this is the part that kind of settles down, I believe, for a little while. And then the bit of the race will get, it gets pretty hot. I was thinking with about 4 or 5 laps to go, it was going to heat up a little. Really, the last 3 are critical, though. Now, there was a little sketch, and that was completely my fault. Fernando thought he cut me off, which, of course, he did, but it was I presented myself there to cut him off, to allow him to cut me off, and I was a little late diving into the turn. So, of course, I apologized to him. He apologized to me, but yeah, that's pretty much my fault. I was late. If I'm going to go inside on someone, I need to kind of square up early and, at least let him see my wheel, and he really could not see me from that point or from that position. As you can tell, we're only doing 22, 23 miles per hour. It's calmed down a lot. A couple laps ago, we were doing 25, 26, 27 through here. Lap averages of 28 and 30 miles per hour, which is gonna pick up again, but this was a much needed rest. My heart rate's down now from 185 to almost 10 beats. I think at one point I get it back into the 160s, 168 or so, but never lower than 168 or 167, I believe. Here, just momentum. I'm not pedaling and just coast out here. I kind of didn't mind. I didn't really want to be in the wind, but, you know, I'm not hitting my brakes, so I'm just going to coast up to a certain point. So I see my buddy Francisco here to my right a little. Did get cut off there again, and I had to accelerate like everyone else at that point. Used a little wasted energy again, not being able to roll through. But that again was most likely my fault. I was late, and you know, that's what happens when you roll inside late. I just prefer the inside of the corner though, opposed to the outside. It's just I feel like I have a little more control over my destiny there. When you're on the outside, someone runs wide, and there's not much you can do about it except run wider if there is room. But on the inside, typically I can slow down, I can speed up, or I just hold my line. You know, give them a hint that I'm there with the inside call, and just hold your line. Here's my buddy Francisco right there, Ramos on the left. He got his number flapping in the wind though. You know, when he first came by me, I thought someone got married and was pulling some aluminum cans behind their car. But yeah, that's just his number, and next time I'll hook him up. We'll have it nice and flat on his jersey there. But Francisco's really strong. Him and I trained together, and this is basically the only other person I knew in the race. So I'm comfortable following him. He's comfortable following me, and yeah, he's a really strong rider. So this was his first race as well, and I think he's gonna, you know, do well in the future. Hopefully next week at the UCLA Road Race. So again, we're moving along here, but we're actually not going that fast. 27 miles per hour is pretty fast, but not on this portion of the course. So we're kind of still getting a little break here, being able to recover a little bit. I think at this point, this is where I start following the rider here with the black shorts and the white shirt. He's a really good draft. As you can see, he has strong legs, bigger guy. So yeah, shielding the wind from me pretty good, and I was happy to find his wheel. And I don't know if it's this lap or other laps, but I'm gonna pretty much stick to that wheel for the next few laps. And I don't really want to give it up or share it. You know, I think I have to up my kit game too. I see some of these riders have really nice kits. Some of them have team kits, of course, and you know, if you have a team kit, obviously it's going to be pretty nice usually. But yeah, riding solo, I got to up my game a little bit, get a new wardrobe. I'm sure my wife will love that, spending more money on bike gear, but got to look the part if you want to be it. And there you go, my heart's down to 168, 169, that's perfect. Of course I'd like it lower if I could, but you know, you can't really expect any lower than that on a crit race to be, you know, more than 20 beats below your max heart rate. If so, it's probably a really relaxed pace. So I don't know, I think we have about, I can't hear what he's saying there, but I think we have maybe 3-4 laps to go here. Maybe even 5. So it will pick up, the pace will pick up a little bit. People start getting ready to get in a better position. This is something I need to learn because I always just felt like I had more time. And, you know, at the end here, I'm gonna make a big mistake, and part of it was getting stuck, maybe like mesmerized, fell asleep a little bit. And the other part was, I'm sure, fatigue, being in the first time with my heart rate up that high. Just, I think I set a new max heart rate overall, and possibly for, you know, 1 minute, 5 minutes, stuff like that. The speed's still not that fast though. We're only doing 23, 24 up this backside. It's a little bit of a false flat. It feels flat, it looks flat when you're there. You can feel the bite in your leg just a tad, but it's only 1%. Same here as maybe 1.5%, something like that. Possibly 2 at the max. Then after that it's downhill, so it was relatively flat course, but obviously at pace you can feel it in your legs a little bit. You know, honestly, I think this turn, or that little series of turns there, I think being Cat 5, none of us really took those lines that well there. I think you can set that up a little bit easier coming into the front straight with a little bit wider approach and getting some speed up coming down. But, you know, we are Cat 5, and we didn't really take that great of a line in that section there. So here you can see the pace is picking up a little bit. Again, a little frantic. I see a little bumping there. You know, people are getting a little bit more aggressive, getting a little antsy. I'm still just trying to save watts and be as recovered as possible. You know, being that I've never raced, I don't know what my sprint is like compared to other racers. You know, in the regular world, I definitely have a decent sprint in the regular world, but you never know until you're out there comparing it to others that are fit like you are, or more fit than you are, or just have more punch, more snap. Getting a little closed down here, so I have to slow down a little bit. Had to touch the brakes, and I don't like touching the brakes going into a corner, but again, you see how wide we are. We're actually going too slow. It needs to be stretched out just a little bit. But at this point in the race, everybody's a little bit taxed. 30 minutes isn't a long time, but it's a long time to go hard. I give a good shout out there inside, take the line. I want to kind of move up with some of the guys that I know are going to try to get in position for the win. So, but partly I was a little bit passive. I wasn't real aggressive here, you know, fighting back for wheels or anything like that. I'm just kind of cruising, and I think that was one of my biggest mistakes. I got stuck in cruise mode and kind of like survival mode. As you can see, we're doing 30 this time opposed to the 26 or 27 we were doing a couple laps ago. So obviously the pace is a lot faster. And I got a little bit confused here, because if you see, the guy right there in the yellow or the neon Trek, I believe he wins the race. And I think this is the last lap, and they get a little bump there, almost a crash. But this is the last lap, and for some reason I thought we had one more to go after this. So I'm definitely not as aggressive as I could have been. And if the guy was just next to me, you know, 100 yards back, and he wins the race, so I definitely wasn't too far back to have a good finish. But fatigue's a little set in. You see my heart rate's now back up to 186. Doing about 250 watts at that time. Coming into the corner here, just lay off and roll through. But for some reason, I got mesmerized here as I see like no one's really like accelerating hard, and it's because we're all dying, and I just didn't realize that, and I was thinking like there was gonna be a go moment, and the go moment has came and passed already. So I think the fatigue got me thinking, hey, we have one more lap to go, you know, or it'd be faster than this. But no, the guys that are in position, they're already gone, and it's over. The whole race is over. So, yeah, I was a little delusional after the race, thinking, oh, I could have gotten like a top 8 or a top 10 or a top 15. And no, you can't get anything other than what you got, because that's what you did. So, you know, fatigue breeds mistakes, and thinking there's one more lap to go was probably just fatigue or wishful thinking, because, yeah, your little opportunity has came and went. That window opened and shut, and you should have laid it all on the line. And at the same time, maybe you did.
Analysis, just, you know, before I get to see the film, big mistake at the end. I thought we had one more lap to go, so I never got in position to sprint at the end, which I think I was in pretty good position where I could have probably got like a top 10 or 15, but I sagged on that last climb thinking we had one more lap to go, and then it was over. So I never had a chance to sprint.
First race under the belt, I think it was a little intimidating for me. A lot of people were diving into the corner, so that made me slow down, and most of the time I was in the back, and I didn't know the race had started, so I thought we had a warm-up lap when it actually had started, so that really caught me off guard. And from there on, I was fighting from the back to get to the front, but that wasn't bad for the first one.